I am live. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. This news just broke about 4 5 minutes ago. The Kentucky grand jury of Jefferson County grand jury have this has decided to only indict one of the three officers involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor. That was not a death; she was murdered. Let's put it out there. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's tell her how it is. Jefferson County grand jury has charged former Louisville police officer Brett Hankerson, one of the three officers involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor. This copy is saying death, but in the murder of Breonna Taylor, with 3 counts of wanton endangerment of the first degree. What is wanton endangerment, you may ask? Well, you know how on New Year's Eve, at 12 midnight, depending on where you are, uh, at midnight on New Year's Eve, you go out and you fire your gun in the air. That's wanton endangerment because those bullets could come down and hit you. Basically, you're putting everybody in the surrounding area in danger by firing that gun that way. So basically, that's what they have charged this guy with. Um, I would get a tougher charge if I was to go outside my home and shoot out all the street lights. I get charged harder than this. The other two, there are no charges. Um, there's nothing. That's the only charge. No charge for the taking of Breonna's life. None of that. And the thing about this was the officer that was on the outside of the apartment shooting. So basically, they're charging him with endangering, people around the neighbors because they called out initials of people that was put in danger or that could have been harmed. It was a C initial CE and CZ. I did not hear not one initial BT. So I'm a kind of thing. I call BS. I'm trying not to curse. I really am. But it's hard being a black woman here in 2020 and seeing that another black woman here in 2020 was in her bed sleeping and folks busted up into her house, which was the wrong house, and killed her. And the only one that's being charged is the one that was standing outside of the house shooting. I don't give a damn about that $12 million settlement. No, that's not justice. That's not justice. That's the least amount you could have did. You ask her mama right now, would you rather have this $12 million or your daughter back? I'd be willing to put my life on that she would answer she would want to have her daughter back. But yeah, I'm going to read this copy that I received. Okay, it says a Jefferson County grand jury has charged former Louisville police officer Brett Hankerson, one of the three officers involved in the murder of Breonna Taylor, with 3 counts of wanton endangerment of the first degree. Hankerson violated standard operating procedure when his actions displayed an extreme indifference to the value of human life. When he wantonly and blindly fired 10 rounds into Taylor's apartment. Right. It continues to say, wait a minute. It continues to say, where am I? It flipped on me. Extreme indifference to human life. That's crazy. This is crazy. Y'all, I'm sorry. I can't go by this. I can't go by this. I had looked over it. I was gonna be all, professional and just be matter of fact, but there's some bullshit. This is some straight out bullshit. So you mean to tell me the three stooges, these three Keystone cops busted in the wrong apartment, shot and killed this woman. Only one get charged, and he gets charged. The charge that he got is basically he got charged as if he was caught shooting his weapon on New Year's Eve, midnight New Year's Eve, basically. And he gets his bond is $15,000 cash, which we all know the police union gonna have that. If not, some of his folks, they just signed a warrant. Y'all, this is crazy. This is why it is so important for you to get out and vote, not only in the general, but your local elections, because these people was elected and voted in the office. And even when it come down to jury duty, I know we don't be wanting to do it, but you never know what case you might get picked for. And to answer that, because this right here is sad. And I'm really trying to keep from doing a lot of cussing. In my mind, I have a flow of very colorful words going on, and I am trying to keep it in, because they really want to come out. And I'm really trying to keep them in, people. I am trying. I really am. But, so not today. I mean, not even assault charge in this. Nothing toward, that, nothing to address the fact that y'all killed this young lady. Nothing about that. And if he gets convicted, he faces up to 5 years. So, this is some bull. But them people, because I don't know if y'all have been watching, but like yesterday, they did a story on how the business owners in Louisville were boarding up their businesses in, bracing for what these what the grand jury was going to announce. And they knew it was some BS then. This is some bull mess. $15,000. You kill somebody died from what you did, and you gonna get out with $15,000. I mean, if you're in a car wreck and it's found out that it's your fault and you kill somebody in the other car, you get charged stiffer than this. Really, this what we doing? This is what we doing. I mean, so this is state. So now we got to see what the federal gonna do, because there's federal charges pending also. But this is crazy. This is crazy. I can get caught with an ounce of weed and be looking at more time than this man who is responsible for somebody being killed in faces. This is something. Y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. People, wake up. People in the wrong, exactly, super chat, in the wrong apartment. Y'all didn't even have the right apartment. Then to come to find out that they went and interviewed. I didn't know this part. I just found this out today. They went and interviewed her ex-boyfriend, trying to get him to say that she was doing some illegal stuff out of the apartment. That way it would have justified them rushing the apartment and shooting and killing her. I could not be her mama right now. I don't know. I can only imagine what she's going through. I can only imagine. Thank you. They charged Michael Vick harder than that. And he didn't fight the dogs. It was just his house. I cannot imagine being her mama right now. I cannot. I can somewhat feel her pain because she lost her child. So I feel that pain. But to know that the people that are responsible for your child not being here, the people who took your child life, 2 of them ain't being charged, and 1 of them gonna probably not get convicted of what he's charged for. Gonna probably get acquitted of the charge that they put against him, which is some weak, flimsy ass charges. We need to wake up. We need to wake up. We need to wake up. People, please wake up. Please. People, please wake up. I mean, they are constantly showing you and showing us as Black people, and especially Black women, my job as a special prosecutor in this case was to put emotions aside, investigate. But cause this nigga here, I don't even know that AG. Anyway. This. Y'all want to bring him up so y'all can see what he over here saying. Let me see if I can bring it up in time for y'all. I'll put it on screen. Let me see. I'm gonna try to bring it up for y'all so y'all can see what this jackass saying. Because I look at him side eye because this woman's. Let me see. He ain't doing it. They ain't showing it. I didn't say what you call it. Let me see. Let me see something. Demonstrators outraged. They ain't got it up. Damn it. Breaking news. It took y'all from March 13th to September 23rd to come up with nothing. Y'all came up with nothing. I can't get it up in time. If I was just what like Super Chess, if I was to go out there and shoot a dog, I'm gone for 20 years. And the dog could be charging me if I shoot and kill that dog. I'm gone. I'm gone. Now, why I understand and see, because I got a feeling that it ain't gonna go down now while the sun out, while daylight. They gonna wait till sundown and they gonna tear Louisville up. And I can't get mad. I don't wish that, I wish they didn't have to come there, but that seemed to be the only way you get folks' attention is when you tearing up shit where they can't collect and make it where they can't collect no tax dollars. I'm just saying. This is some bull. This is some straight bull. I wish I could bring up because I don't care for his ass neither. Because what is you talking about? What is you talking about? Just like down here, I won't say it was last week before last, the police is after somebody. The person shot and killed the police dog. They shot and killed the person for killing the police dog. And for 3, 5, 6 days, all of you heard about was this police dog and the funeral and all that. I don't do that. Each state has different rules about what prosecutors can and cannot say Whatever. This dude here, cause we all know. See, we all know what you engaged to, bro. Cause while these folks grieving and the city getting tore up, you up there getting engaged to your pink diamond. Bring it back, JL. Don't go there. Don't go there. So yeah. I always say that one of the things that gave me comfort back in 2016 is I didn't have to question what happened. I might have questioned why it happened, but I didn't have to question what happened because I know what happened. But for all those other people, all those other mothers that lost children through that time span, I think I'm the only one that can say I didn't have to add. My only question is why. This right here is crazy. And of the people's names of those cases, how many of the folks involved, officers involved in the action scene in jail time? I'm just saying, this is, if this don't piss you off, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to you. I don't know. I mean, this woman was this woman was in her house, in her bed, sleep. She was an EMT, so it's a likely chance she had a shift that she had did that day and was going to bed to get ready to get up the next day and continue during a pandemic. And to be shot. And then they was saying that it was a no-knock warrant. Then they said it wasn't a no-knock warrant. So I guess Louisville, to cover their arse, then came up with what they call Breonna's law, which basically did away with the no-knock warrants. But I mean, even if and they still trying to charge the boyfriend. Well, if you bust up in my house, if I'm asleep and you bust up in my house in the middle of the night, I will get my weapon and and I will defend myself. I'm just saying, the boyfriend, okay, ain't nobody, but they bust in there. Ain't nobody said police or nothing. They just bust in there. So he went there. Hey, somebody in my house. I'm gonna shoot, and I don't blame him. I could understand them doing a no knock if they had once they bust through that door or something, or before they bust through that door, they identified themselves as the police. And even then, I'm gonna be skeptical because I'm gonna want to see some badges. But this it's not, sadly, it's not the first time something like this to happen. And sadly, and I really do believe it's not gonna be the last. Because like down here, I want to say a little over 10 years ago, it was a 92-year-old lady by the name of Catherine Johnston that was asleep in her home. And the police bust up in her home. They were met with some gunfire by Miss Johnston. They shot and killed her. They was in the wrong damn house. Now, here's my thing. On my job, if I go to the wrong place or put something in the wrong place or send something to the wrong place, that's my ass. But cops every day can bust into the wrong houses and kill and maim people, because just like I want to say a few years after that, there was the incidents down here where they charged into the wrong house because they got the wrong information from a informant and they didn't double check it. They threw flash grenades. One landed in the crib of a 1.5-year-old baby and scarred him for life. And I think they end up paying them folks a grip. But this got to stop. This got to stop. Now, the city of South Fulton down here in Georgia has passed a law that, okay, because the way it is now, any officer involved shooting, if an officer shoot and kill a suspect, air quotes, they only drug test the suspect. The city of South Fulton said, and one of our police officers shoot anybody, maim anybody, kill anybody, everybody getting drug tested. And those results will be made public. So I applaud the city of South Fulton for doing that, at least taking the step to make sure that everybody is held accountable for their actions. But this is some bull right here. Oh my God. Let me see if anything else I can find before I sign off. Before I log off here and get through with my day. I just wanted to bring y'all that right quick. Lord have mercy. Let me see what this says. Don't play no video. Don't play no video. Okay. Updated at 1:30. Don't say do not play no video because I don't want no video in here in my video. Oh, that's the picture. Okay. Wait a minute. I might share this with y'all. I just thought about that. I might share this depending on. I think I'm going to share screen this. Yeah, I'm going to share this so y'all can look at this. This I will share because it'll probably explain it more than and better than me. Share screen. Okay. Okay. Oh, this ain't got no. Oh, they just showing this right here. So, can I full screen this? Okay, so that's all that I thought they had some sound on this, but let me see what this say. A grand jury in Kentucky indicted former Louisville police officer, police detective involved in the March 13th shooting death of 26-year-old Breonna Taylor. Kentucky Attorney General Here we go. And I think this is what I want to hear.
And moves to trial. That is our responsibility.
I'm going to bring it back
This
up.
will be done while the FBI continues its investigation into potential violations of federal law. I know that not everyone will be satisfied with the charges we've reported today. My team set out to investigate the circumstances surrounding Ms. Taylor's death. We did it with a singular goal in mind, pursuing the truth. Kentuckians deserve no less. The city of Louisville deserves no less. Every person has an idea of what they think justice is. My role as special prosecutor in this case is to set aside everything in pursuit of the truth. My job is to present the facts to the grand jury, and the grand jury then applies those facts to the law. If we simply act on emotion or outrage, there is no justice. Mob justice is not justice. Justice sought by violence is not justice. It just becomes revenge. And in our system, criminal justice isn't the quest for revenge. It's the quest for truth, evidence, and facts, and the use of that truth as we fairly apply our laws. Our reaction to the truth today says what kind of society we want to be. Do we really want the truth, or do we want a truth that fits our narrative? Do we want the facts, or are we content to blindly accept our own version of events? We as a community must make this decision. I understand that Miss Breonna Taylor's death has become a part of a national story and conversation. We must also remember the facts and the collection of evidence in this case are different than cases elsewhere in the country. Each is unique and cannot be compared. There will be celebrities, influencers, and activists who, having never lived in Kentucky, will try to tell us how to feel, suggesting they understand the facts of this case and that they know our community and the Commonwealth better than we do. But they don't. Let's not give in to their attempts to influence our thinking or capture our emotions. At the end of the day, it is up to us. We live here together. We work here and raise our families here together. I urge those protesting on the streets to remember this. Peaceful protests are your right as an American citizen. Instigating violence and destruction are not. I've spoken with both Mayor Fisher and Governor Beshears in the days leading up to this announcement, and I urge them to do what is necessary to maintain law and order and to protect our cities and our people.
So you're going to charge the protesters more harshly than the folks responsible for this young lady being dead? Okay, I hear
you. As we address the pain in the Louisville community, I'm committed to being part of the healing process. When tragedy occurs, we must mourn. We must also do everything we can to prevent it from happening again. Today, consistent with that view, I'm announcing that I will create a task force to review the process for securing, reviewing, and executing search warrants in Kentucky.
Should have been
the task force will consist of a variety of stakeholders, including citizens, members from the law enforcement community, representatives from the judiciary, defense attorneys, and elected leaders. I'll be issuing an executive order in the coming days to create this task force. I believe conducting a top-to-bottom review of the search warrant process is necessary to determine if changes are required and establish best practices.
If changes are required, a 26-year-old lady, a young lady is dead. What you mean? If changes are required, boy, if you don't get your ass down off this thing, I wish I had a brick.
Continue to give this case their attention and time. We also can continue to support the good men and women of our law enforcement community who put their lives on the line every day to protect and to serve.
If the good ones don't say
And
nothing
I will
about the
fight
bad
for
ones,
those across
they
our
just as
state
bad as the
who
bad
feel like
ones.
their voice isn't heard, who feel marginalized, judged, and powerless to bring about change. In a world that is forcing many of us to pick a side, I choose the side of justice. I choose the side of truth. I choose a path that moves the Commonwealth forward and toward healing. You have that choice as well. Let's make it together. Thank you, and God bless. I'll now take some questions.
Let's see what they're gonna ask.
I will get into the specifics of the makeup of the grand jury.
I'd be willing to bet that it was very few that looked like her on that grand jury.
Based on the evidence, there's nothing conclusive to say that Detective Hankinson's any of his bullets hit Miss Taylor.
Okay, then why are the ones who bullets did hit her not being charged? I think somebody just asked that.
Well, as I said from the beginning, and I appreciate that question, this is a tragedy. And sometimes
this is a murder.
The law, the criminal law, is not adequate to respond to a tragedy. And I fully acknowledge that. And I know many that are watching today and those that are listening recognize that as well. But the response is that the grand jury was given all of the evidence, presented all of the information, and ultimately made the determination that Detective Hankinson was the one to be indicted. Grand jury proceedings are secret, and so I'm not going to get into the specifics of details about that proceeding. What I will say is that we presented all of the information, and they ultimately made a determination about whether to charge. In this instance, they decided to indict Detective Hankinson.
But my thing is, if he didn't fire the fatal shot, y'all see what it's like they playing in our face. It's like they are playing in our face.
What my role as the special prosecutor in this case was to provide the information and facts to the grand jury. Detective Cosgrove and Sergeant Mattingly were justified in returning fire because they were fired upon. I'll leave it to others to make determinations. We have vigorous self-defense laws in the state. And that is something that existed prior to this case. I'll let others make judgments about that. Yes, sir.
This fucker is a Republican.
Surrounding this case is whether or not the officers knocked and announced their presence. Talk about the evidence that you came to that they did announce their presence.
Yes, the statements that were made by officers there the night or the morning of March 13th show that they did knock and announce. The important point here is that information was corroborated by another witness who was in close proximity to apartment 4, who corroborated that information and said that there was a knocking and announcing by the officers. The witness was a civilian.
Go back.
Well, Chris, to your question, I think it, again, is important to step back and recognize that what we did was uncover all the information and facts related to the morning of March 13th, grand jury. The grand jury had every piece of detail needed to make their assessments and their judgments. And ultimately, their conclusion was that the decision needed to be made to indict Mr. Hankinson.
Mr. Cameron, Rukmini Kalimaki with the New York Times. Right here,
I'm sorry,
sir.
yes,
Hi, 2 questions for you. Number 1, you said that she was shot 6 times. yet her death certificate says 5. Can you please explain the discrepancy? And the second thing is that journalists in this room, myself included, have taken apart that apartment complex looking for witnesses to the point that you made about the knocking and announcing. Of a dozen witnesses that I spoke to, only one, a man who was directly upstairs, heard them announce. Do you think that's enough in the middle of the night when somebody is asleep for just one person in a tight-knit apartment block to have heard that? Is that a sufficient way of announcing?
Well, let me try to answer your second question first. Your question was, is it enough for me? I think the more pertinent question is, what was the evidence provided to the grand jury? What was sufficient for their purposes? They got to hear and listen to all the testimony and made the determination that Detective Hankinson was the one that needed to be indicted, knowing all of the relative points that you made. As to your first question, can you repeat it one more time?
Her death certificate says 5.
You just said 6.
You were saying 6. Today's the first time I'm hearing 6.
Yes. So there is a
you know, shitted and stepped
that
in.
was lodged, and bullet might be too generous a term. There was an object that was lodged into one of her feet, and so that is what is being referred to as the 6th, I guess, projectile.
Are you going to release the full?
Joe?
Are you going to release the full grand jury report?
Can you say that one more time?
Are you going to release the full grand jury report?
Well, I am right now, because there is a pending indictment. I think it is our practice, and because there is an ongoing FBI investigation, to revisit that question. But at this point, I don't think it's appropriate for us to release any information. Well, that is what the evidence shows, is that there was nothing conclusive.
This is the question and answer part. I'm gonna stop for a minute. I'm gonna take the picture out. I want to share something with y'all.
Well, again, all the evidence was given to the grand jury, and they made the decision that one, endangerment was the charge to file to indict against Mr. Hankinson.
You see that?
Yes,
Do you see that? Now, while they was dragging their feet to come up with this indictment.
Well, your last question about providing information.
He got married.
Any investigation, criminal investigation.
This is who he got married to.
Practice, and this is whether on the state or federal level, is to
for one, it says that this fucker is 34 years old.
Because you do not want to compromise that investigation. There are also ethical
and a Republican
as investigators and prosecutors that we're responsible.
Mitch McConnell was at his wedding.
Well, some of those obligations continue now because we have a responsibility to pursue the prosecution.
I don't know when they vote again.
It's my judgment very early
in
on,
Kentucky, but if they don't get his Uncle Tom ass up out of here,
the Attorney General's office,
because had that been her ass, they shot up 6 times.
Was conflicted out of this case because of another matter that he was pursuing. I could have formed.
Oh, all of them have been up under the jail before daybreak, and you ain't gonna make me think any different.
Instead, I did not do that because
but I'm gonna take this out and I'm gonna go back
and the relationships that we have
to the press conference.
In my judgment, were needed.
Make sure I take y'all to the right thing so we can finish listening.
Part of the reason the investigation took so long is because we needed to make sure that we were doing a thorough job of looking at all the facts and gathering all the materials, interviewing witnesses, making sure that all of our people felt confident in their presentation to the grand jury. I will remind you, as late as Friday, we were still interviewing people in this case. And so the length of it is because this case deserves thorough and fair analysis. That was needed and deserved by Breonna and by her family. for the officers involved, for the community of Louisville, and for the Commonwealth. We needed to have a thorough investigation. We also got the FBI involved in terms of the ballistics report. We needed additional, their ability to scrutinize and make an independent assessment as well. And so the length of the investigation was a reflection, I hope people understand, of how important it was that we got this right. We didn't want to rush it, and we did not. And I'm grateful to the team that is behind me for the work that they did. Look, over 200 years of combined experience. These are prosecutors and investigators who don't care about political distinctions, don't care about influence in any particular regard. What they care about is the truth. And we presented that to the grand jury.
Sir, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I won't get into what our private conversation is. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What do you say to people who say this is just another example of the Black community not getting full justice? And what specifically do you plan to do to calm a community that's long been hurting? And do you understand that anger that people might feel?
I certainly understand the pain that has been brought about by the tragic loss of Miss Taylor.
It ain't no loss. They murdered this girl, that lady.
As a attorney general who is responsible for all 120 counties in terms of being the chief legal officer, the chief law enforcement officer, I understand that. I understand that as a Black man, how painful this is. And which is why it was so incredibly important to make sure that we did everything we possibly could to uncover every fact. And I know, look, this team, myself, the members of the representatives in the Attorney General's office have taken a lot of criticism and scrutiny. But that scrutiny in many ways was misplaced because there was not a day the people in this office didn't go to sleep thinking about this case. And it wasn't a day where the first thing on our minds is getting to the truth in this case.
What about your wedding day, liar?
Obviously, again, criminal law is not meant.
What about that day? So you mean the day that you was married your K bitch? The first thing on your mind was this case, you lying bastard.
My heart breaks for the loss of Miss Taylor. And I've said that repeatedly. My mother, if something was to happen to me.
You better
would find it very hard. And I've seen that pain on Ms. Palmer's face. I've seen that pain in the community. And what our responsibility in the AG's office was to make sure that we uncovered every fact, that we utilized every resource that we could bring to bear to uncover the facts and the truth. And that's ultimately what we presented to the grand jury. On the question of what I'm going to do, I've talked to partners in the community about helping to be a constructive member of any conversations moving forward. I recognize in my remarks, I mentioned the fact that we'll be establishing a task force in the coming days ahead to look at best practices for warrants. So there is a lot that I can do in this platform to help.
Sir, this is Maria Sicchetti with the Washington Post. Just had a couple of quick questions.
I hear your voice. Okay.
Hi, sorry, over here in the back. Just wanted to double check were manslaughter. Did the grand jury ever consider the charges of manslaughter, reckless homicide? And if not, could you please explain why? And do you anticipate any other charges in this case?
I apologize. Could you say that a little louder?
Sure.
I think I got.
Sure. Did the grand jury ever consider manslaughter or reckless homicide or those kinds of charges? And if not, please explain why. And do you anticipate any other charges, or is this it?
I won't get into the specifics again of the proceedings themselves are secret, but what I will say is that our team walked them through every homicide offense and also presented all of the information that was available to the grand jury. And then the grand jury was ultimately the one that made the decision about indicting Detective Hankinson for wanton endangerment. I think that in terms of what happened the wee hours of March 13th, in terms of that particular or specific date, and what happened that night in the apartment, I think it is unlikely that
That
there'll
was
be
it
any
right there.
additional prosecutions that come from that event itself.
Attorney General, so can you go into the confusion over the fatal shot that was fired, and kind of what the issue was there in terms of determining that? And then also, did you present to the grand jury with any charges against Mattingly and Cosgrove?
Well, so as to your first question, what I think you asked about was, yes, the reports that were provided to us by the Kentucky State Police and then the FBI as it relates to ballistics. So initially we got the report from Kentucky State Police and it was inconclusive about making a determination into that fatal shot. And so again, with the relationships that we have with our federal law enforcement community, namely the FBI, I thought it imperative that we utilize that resource. And so they undertook an independent analysis and review of and conducted or provided a ballistics report. There is nothing that this team was able to glean suggesting that there was an objective reason for why FBI was able to conclusively or definitively state that Mr. Cosgrove fired the fatal shot. Both, again, KSP, their lab, well regarded, well respected, FBI, equally regarded and respected. That said, it certainly creates some issue in terms of providing that information to the grand jury and providing that at any subsequent prosecution. And so it was, from our judgment, important to provide both of those to the grand jury and then ultimately let them make a determination about what to do with that information.
Were they presented with charges for Mattingly or Cosgrove?
I'm sorry.
Mattingly and Cosgrove. Were they presented with any charges for Mattingly or Cosgrove?
Well, what I will say is that they will walk through all the homicide offenses, and with that information and the information and facts that were provided to them that we uncovered in our investigation, they made the determination that Detective Hankinson was the one that needed to be indicted here. Yes, ma'am.
I have nothing.
So what I would say is there's obviously I don't want to get into the proceedings related to Mr. Walker. That's a separate, so I'm not going to have any comment on that. This team behind me presented to the grand jury. And your other question was about the racial makeup of, well, I'm black, and I speak for the entire department. And I hope that will satisfy that question. Yes, ma'am.
They got the wrong reporters in there. To see, I'll be.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
I know that you said the investigation has obviously taken months and it was presented to the grand jury Monday. Can you tell us, when did the grand jury actually, how long did they deliberate? Did they begin on Monday or did they begin Tuesday? And that was this week, correct?
The grand jury was presented with the information today. I won't get into the specifics of when they began their deliberations, but I will say that they started early Monday and concluded sometime before noon. So they heard everything they needed to hear. We didn't withhold anything from them, and I hope that satisfies your question.
General, can you tell me?
Wait a minute. I just want to break in. Did I hear him correctly? Okay, it took them months to gather all this evidence and information in this case. and they presented it to the grand jury on Monday. Is that what he said? And here it is. What's today? Wednesday? It took y'all months to gather all this. And the grand jury, meaning regular folks like you and me, was able to go through all that and come up with these charges on a Wednesday. Oh no, bro. No, bro. Y'all gotta come better than that.
Conversation will be a part of this task force. But I want to make sure that people recognize that this task force is being established not to demonize any one side or any one department or agency. I think it's a healthy thing for the Attorney General from time to time to be a part of a conversation with all 120 counties. I'm not talking or singling out any county specifically, but with all 120 counties about best practices that can be utilized. I had a recent conversation with somebody that said there's always room for improvement. I think that's important in any industry, important in any job. And so as part of my role as the Attorney General, I certainly recognize the part I have to play in making sure that all of our systems in government are improved upon, whether it be because of a particular matter that occurred or because from time to time it's just the responsible thing to do.
Did any of the officers
I'm
ask?
sorry, Joe.
Did any of the officers ask to testify or present evidence to the grand jury, and were any allowed to?
Well, what I'll say on that is, again, I don't want to get into the specifics, but testimony was heard by the grand jury of all sorts of witnesses and folks. And so, again, all relevant information was provided to the grand jury for them to make their assessment. Yes, sir.
When you look at the analysis of the path of the bullets, how was it that Kenneth Walker, who fired the shot at the officers, was not hit, and Breonna Taylor was hit so many times?
Well, that's part of the tragedy here. And again, I don't want to get into the specifics, but the fact that she was hit breaks my heart, and it breaks the collective heart of all the country. But I don't want to get, because we have now a open prosecution, I don't want to get too into the details of the trajectories themselves.
Two follow-up questions. One, I understand that the names of grand jurors aren't released, but what rule or standard prevents you from releasing the racial and gender makeup of the grand jury? And number two, you mentioned that Cosgrove fired the fatal shot, but could you clarify how many shots in all that hit Ms. Taylor were fired by Mattingly, and how many shots that hit Ms. Taylor were fired by Cosgrove?
Well, as to the last question, inconclusive in terms of how many shots from each officer. We weren't able to identify with that level of specificity. As to the question about the makeup of the grand jury, we might be able to, I need to confirm on that front. About, yeah, you know, the fact that this has received so much scrutiny, I think it'd be inappropriate for me to share the information about the makeup of the grand jury, just to the extent I can protect them.
Or recommend that LMPD release it?
Well, look, the role that we now have is to pursue the ongoing prosecution against Detective Hankinson. And so I think it'd be irresponsible.
Oh, what happened to your sound, bro? Okay.
Shouldn't be
recommending,
again, because of the ongoing prosecution, any sort of recommendation as to relates to a release of a file.
We're gonna have time for 2 more questions.
Oh, Daniel, okay. Well, I certainly don't think that whether it's the grand jury or our responsibility as the investigators or prosecutors, it's to find the truth. And so when folks from outside of the Commonwealth suggest or make their preferences or their opinions known, it should have no bearing on our role as prosecutor and as investigator and fact finder. Even with folks within the Commonwealth, again, this is a tragedy. I don't want to lose sight of that, but we do have a responsibility to look at the facts as they are.
This is a murder.
And we can't be in the business.
Tragedy.
I don't think we want a justice system that is in the business of fashioning facts or
A
laws
tragedy
to a particular narrative.
would be if she
We have
was
to be
on
in
her
the
way to a
business
call and the ambulance
presenting
that
the
she was
information
in
to the grand jury
flipped over and
ultimately
she
allowing
passed
them
that way.
to
That would be a
decision
tragedy.
about what to
What
do
happened to
subsequently.
this young lady was a
question.
murder.
Yes, ma'am. Far in the back. I apologize. Actually, we'll take these last two here. Okay.
Oh.
So either one.
Thank you, Bronze
Sorry.
813. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I wanted to ask if you, if you believe personally that someone should have been charged with homicide or one of the similar charges in this case, and if you could please walk us through what happened after the officers knocked on the door. Did they hear an answer? How long did they wait before everything erupted? So both of those questions, please, and thank you very much.
As to your first question, again, this is about what the grand jury decided. One of the misconceptions out there is that the Attorney General's office was in the business of making charges, and that's just simply not the case under Kentucky law. Our role is to present the information to the grand jury. We dispense with that responsibility. We did it after a protracted investigation that uncovered all of the facts. That was our role. That was our responsibility. And we presented everything to the grand jury for them to ultimately make a judgment about what to do next. And in this case, in this instant, they decided to indict Detective Hankinson. As to your other question about what was provided to the grand jury, I can't get into the details of the specifics on that particular issue.
Yes, sir. In the beginning, you said that you spoke with Breonna Taylor's family today. I know you can't tell us word for word what they said to you, but how was the news received?
Well, it was a hard meeting, and I won't go any further. I won't elaborate. But it was a difficult meeting, and
Yeah, but you had to look them folks in their face and bring them that
when I ran for this
bullshit.
office, I ran because I
Excuse my
had some
Swahili.
singular ideas in mind, and you never know exactly what issues you'll be presented with, and what challenges you'll be presented with. And today was one of those challenges, to have to sit in that room and provide the information to Ms. Palmer and to other members of the Taylor family. It's been a difficult day. This is a difficult day for everyone standing up here. This is a difficult day for those here that have to report this. And it's a very difficult day for Louisville, all of the Commonwealth, all of the country. I recognize that. And I certainly recognize the responsibility that I have to help in the healing process. As I noted in my remarks, I hope that those that are home watching, those that perhaps have ideas about being angry or pained by this decision, I hope we will respond in a manner that respects our First Amendment rights, but also respects our responsibility as the Bible talks about loving our neighbors, and that we can do so keeping Breonna Taylor's legacy in mind, but also in a way that respects our Louisville, our city, the city I live in, that respects all of our communities. So again, this is a hard day. I am under no illusion that it is not. And all I can offer is that our office uncovered every fact that was relevant to the wee hours, the morning hours of March 13th. We provided that information to the grand jury, and you all now, whether you're sitting here or whether you're at home, know the results of that process. And now we have the responsibility to prosecute that indictment, move forward in that matter. But all of us have a responsibility to work together, to find common ground, to find ways to love one another, and just be good neighbors. And so that's what I implore as you all report on this in a responsible manner. That's what I implore those that are watching on television, is that we all have the responsibility of coming together now. I hope that you will take that charge seriously. Our governor likes to talk about Team Kentucky, and I believe him earnestly in that charge. And I hope that that extends to the results that were issued here today. And I hope that extends to all of our neighbors and all of our communities. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, and that's okay. So, what did we learn here? This some bullshit. That's what I learned here. This is some bullshit. Didn't even have concern. Exactly. They just went in and shoot. This. Yeah, I honestly, I'm tired. I mean, I sat here a little over 4 years ago, and God, I wish I could find that video, but it was on Facebook. I was on Facebook then. I hadn't discovered the world, the wonderful world of YouTube. Hey, Demeter, and pushed how important it was for us to go get out and vote. And I can tell y'all when I did it. I did that video I want to say the damn what date. It was in July because it was right after the 4th, but it was before the 10th. So somewhere in between that time is when I did that video addressing this very same subject, telling people they need to get up off their ass and vote. When that Trayvon Martin verdict came down, I said then, it's a damn shame that in these United States of America, you get more time for killing a dog than you do. You get charged quicker for killing animals than you do for killing young black men and women. And I said then, people, we need to get out and vote. Fast forward to 2016, people, we need to get out and vote. Here we are, September of 2020. People, we need to get out and vote. How many times, different ways are these folks gonna show you that basically our lives, if we just so happen to get killed in the line, them doing their job, oops. Basically, it's what this shit said to me today. But to those that's just coming in, only one officer has been charged in the murder of Breonna Taylor, and that was Officer Hankinson, and he wasn't charged with murder. He was charged with wanton, what's that bullshit? Endangerment. No type of, manslaughter, assault upon a human, none of that. Basically, his charge is, just like I said earlier, if on New Year's Eve you go outside and get caught firing a weapon, the police would charge you with wanton endangerment because they could say make the argument that you shooting up in the air, but you're putting people in danger because you don't know where that round is gonna land. And then the charge of it didn't have nothing to do with putting her life in danger. They used two initials. It was a human being, putting the life in danger of a human being, initial CE, and putting the life in danger of a human being, initials CZ. This is whoo, that's the only thing I can say. Y'all. Well, that's why I just broke in with this breaking. Like I said, I think it broke at 1:35. By 1:40, I was on here. If I come up with anything else, if I find out anything else, I will bring it to you. Now, right now, they are showing they're doing a peaceful march through the neighborhood. The real action and the real fun is gonna come when the sun go down. So make sure you hit that notification bell twice, because as soon as I find it and see what's really going down at the dog in Kentucky, I'm gonna bring it to you. Like I did with Minnesota. If we have to be sitting up here all night, I'll be right there with you. I'll be right here with it. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I want to thank you again, Bronze 813, for that super chat. I really appreciate it. Welcome to Smart Show. If this is your first time over here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell twice. That way you'll be notified if when I go live or if I do an upload. Make sure to like this video and share this video, this live video, depending on when you're watching it, out so that others may see it and get the information that was provided during this video, during this live, because we really got to do something. It's just, they want us to be peaceful. So that was one of his things. Peaceful protests. And how you expect the people to keep being peaceful when we get killed out here? And I can't even say in the streets in this one. Because like I said earlier, this young lady was in her home, in her bed, probably getting ready to go on to bed for a shift the next day. Because like I said, she was an EMT. So she's out there during a pandemic, putting her life on the line, only to have her life snatched away from her in her own home by the Keystone cops, who come to find out was at the wrong address. So y'all, like I said, I'm gonna be paying attention to this. Like I said, right. Like I said, it probably they probably gonna do like, because I'm looking at a feed where they're just doing some peaceful marching. They got a march going on, through the street. It's peaceful. It's almost like a parade. The real action is gonna happen after dark. And like I said, when I see it and find it, I will bring it to you all. Y'all try to enjoy the rest of y'all day. I'm finna go try to get, because honestly, I just want to scream. I just want to let out a scream. I just want to scream so bad right now. I do. I just want to scream to the top of my damn lungs right now. This is. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of being sick and tired. And here's my thing. I do my part. This is why I can. This is why I can sit up here and get a commentary that I'm giving the way that I give it, because I do what I need to do. I don't give a damn about this. My vote that they gonna put. I know I take my ass out and vote. So if I don't agree with some or some that rub me the wrong way, I got every right to complain, because I took the necessary steps to help make, or at least to start making change. And that's how we could legally do. But y'all, thank y'all again. I'll be talking to y'all later. Like I said, if I'm waiting for the sun to go down in Kentucky, that's what I'm waiting on. But that's, if anything, that's when the real stuff gonna jump off. Is when the sun go down. So anything jump off, I'll bring it to y'all. Y'all take care. Talk to you later.